MMA Meltdown on the Fight Network. I am Gabe Morency. Let's do this thing. First things first, if you're tuning in right now, I want to wish everybody a happy holidays, a Merry Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever it is that you celebrate or you don't celebrate. Either way, we've got your back, man. There's no rest for the wicked. Of course, we've got a monster UFC 207 around the corner. Very interesting, actually, if you guys didn't realize. That card is actually on Friday night. Not Saturday night. Saturday night's New Year's Eve, and even the UFC doesn't want to go head-to-head with New Year's Eve. College football goes head-to-head with New Year's Eve. They have their college football playoffs, and last year they were warned about this. I don't know if that's such a good idea, guys, and they were so arrogant, they basically stated, their exact statement was, we could play on the 4th of July, and it doesn't matter. People will watch. Oh, yeah, they had their lowest ratings for, they had their lowest ratings in, in the last 20 years last year. They moved the games up a little bit. But long story short, it doesn't matter how big you are in the sports world. The power of New Year's Eve is a big one, especially if you're holding a card in Vegas. So the card's on Friday night, guys. So we're going to take a look ahead a little bit at Ronda Rousey. I want to break down what happened this past weekend with the poster children of the UFC, both being humbled on national television. Let's bring in Susan Cingari, an Emmy Award winning Susan Cingari. I like saying that we don't have a lot of Emmy Award winners on our show, Susan. SusanCingari.com. Always a pleasure, Susan. How you doing?
I'm great, Gabe, and welcome to the fans.
And so, first off, happy holidays. It's the end of another year. As we get older, Susan, time really goes by quick, doesn't it?
It sure does. There's not enough hours or moments in the week to cover all the MMA that's coming up next year, and this year's been one fight after another, but we love it here.
It actually depresses me at times because, I'm reading about fighters, and, I follow you on Twitter, and you're a great follower. We encourage people to follow you, and you're always tweeting, this day in MMA history. And I'm like, dear God, that was that long ago. And here we are in UFC 207, and I was thinking about what Cain Velasquez actually fighting. Cain was dominant in a UFC 105 days. We're 100 pay-per-views later. It's amazing that some of these dudes are still hanging on. But nevertheless, Paige VanZant and Sage Northcutt, I didn't think they should have been the main and co-main events last week. I thought they should have thrown a bone to Uriah Faber. There was no championship fight on the card. And, Uriah ends up winning, going out in heroic fashion. But both Paige and both Sage lose. I don't think Dana's losing sleep over it, but he would have preferred if they both won.
I agree with you. I kind of felt, and no offense to the UFC brass, it was great that they put Uriah's last fight in Sacramento, but at least he was, third down from the third fight up to the main card, whatever. I thought he should have been further up. I think but of course, if you listen to his post-fight speech, what a gracious and classy ambassador he is. And I'm sad to see him sad to see him leave the sport, but I was glad that he at least got a chance to fight at his own in his own hometown. But I would have liked to have seen him as the main event.
Yeah, it would have been cool with the main event. Everybody was there to see him, and as you stated, one of the greatest ambassadors to the sport ever, without a doubt. I've met nearly everybody in this sport over the years, and he really is one of the nicer guys that I've met. He's just genuinely a cool dude. So I wish him the best, and at least he's not getting dragged away, right? He's made enough money over the years. He's not getting dragged away out of the sport, getting beat up. So it was nice to see him go out in the fashion that he did. But as far as Paige VanZant is concerned, the thing that impressed me the most about that fight actually was her opponent, Michelle Waterson. I knew that she was a former Invicta champion, but let's be real. A lot of casual UFC fans, they haven't watched Invicta. They didn't know anything about Michelle Waterson. I thought that maybe the ring rust would get to her just because she hasn't been active over the last couple of years, but she looked to be pretty refreshed actually, and Waterson looks like she's going to be a force. The woman's depth has really improved, hasn't it, Susan, over the last couple of years?
Yeah, I think she's done a really good job. It was interesting because in the post-fight analysis, Dominic Cruz talked to her, and they were speaking about ring rust and how perhaps the misinterpretation of ring rust by the fans, and also the fact that hearing that you could have ring rust can also sort of play with the fighter's head. And so much about it is a mental focus getting into the game. So she did have to overcome that. And I thought she did an amazing job. I know her. I've watched her for a while. But one thing maybe the fans might want to go back and look at is I thought she had a damn good game face on right before the start of that fight. I was thinking to myself, could she be third runner-up or second runner-up after Ronda's? Because she looked damn good with her game face. I mean, it was just kind of like nasty and mean.
Yeah, and she said after the fact as well that, I played a lot of games with Paige the whole time, actually.
Right.
And, that's the experience there. And it's almost, I almost, feel bad for Paige. She's like, I got to be honest with you. I picked Paige to win the fight. It was a pick 'em. I knew I was toast, as you stated. Waterson comes in. She looks like a warrior. She's ready to go. But Paige comes in, and she's giggling. And I'm thinking, giggling's not good. Like, that's not good, Paige. I get it. You're a happy-go-lucky girl. But, you're about to get punched in the face here. You better stop giggling. And even during the stare down, Paige almost had that awkward, nervous giggle going. Paige VanZant is good. She's tough as hell. I have a lot of respect for her. I don't view her just as a little Barbie doll that got a free pass to where she's been. But, she's a little bit in over her head right now, it appears, Susan.
Yeah, I'd like to see her. Well, she mentioned that she's probably going to take some time off and kind of regroup, practice her jiu-jitsu. She'll be back better than ever.
Why would she want to do this? I got to be honest. Why would Paige VanZant want to be in the UFC? I'm sure, the UFC or whatever, it shows what a competitor she is. But, in a day and age, in which celebrity is everything right now, she's already a celebrity. It's I give her, that's what I tip my cap to her for, actually, Susan, that we're talking about a 22-year-old girl that can pretty much make a lot of money doing a lot of different things, yet here she is getting beat up in the octagon every 6 months.
She's got to love it then, so we know that for sure.
she's got to love it. Sage is another, Sage is different. Sage says, you know what, I'm going to go to I'm going to go back to lightweight, which I think makes sense. I think Sage has a future as well. It's just, he had such the image that he got fast-tracked as far as the public media hype was concerned. But how about this Mickey Gall kid? He's talked his way up the ladder, and here he is right now. Now he calls out Dan Hardy. Really? Seriously, dude? Why do you call out Sean Shirk next? Sean Shirk, if you're watching this right now, I'll kick your ass.
I like Mickey. I think he's kind of reminds me of early Diaz boys. He's a little
he is,
rough around the edges. He's cocky, but he's cool.
Not a Diaz, but you're right. You know what he is to me? He's just She's just that jarhead fighter.
Yeah.
I hate to put it that way. He's the guy, and I told someone last week, he's the type of guy that, I like to interview him. He's gotten into bar fights. He's that guy.
Right.
You looking at me, you stepped on my new shoes. You can tell he's like a Jersey Shore jarhead type kid.
Yeah.
Shocked, hey, but you need some of these kids in the company.
I think he's a good fighter. I was kind of surprised when I read all the reports about the trash talking going on. I thought that was interesting because that didn't sound like you couldn't really hear that. You didn't sound like that was going to be happening between a Northcutt and a Gall. But I think he'll do really well moving forward. As far as Dan Hardy goes, I wasn't sure last time I checked. I think Hardy had a heart condition. I don't know if he's going to be able to step back in the ring, but. Hey, I don't know. Maybe that would be a good matchup. I'd like to see him fight somebody that's a little more current than Dan. Unless Dan is planning on, coming back into the octagon, then that would be an amazing fight as well.
No, he's not. Dan's done. Dan does a good job on TV. And, it was a strange call-out, actually, because, Mickey said, I have a call-out planned. I was looking forward to it, actually, because I was like, this kid's always interesting. I'm like, Dan Hardy? Dan Hardy? Seriously, that's like the other jackass. Who was it? Was it Nick Lentz always calling out BJ Penn?
Yeah,
BJ Penn's he's smoking weed in Hawaii, dude. Like, you stop calling him out. You know, he's online running his website. You know what I mean? Like, what are you calling out these legends for that are retired? Like, I don't get it. All right, so before we get you out of here, quick take on Ronda. Seems to me like Ronda, what I'll admit, I don't like about Ronda is she's only happy if she wins. You know what I mean? So, like, if she wins, she's going to be all smiles, going to be interviews everywhere, and life is great. And if she loses, she's going to put her head down. She's not going to talk to anyone. We're never going to see her again. You know, but I will say this. She's done a pretty good job, and it has to be a concerted effort on their camp. She's been out of the spotlight, man. Like, she's really, really laying low, considering how big of a fight this is. Even for promotional purposes, Susie, you really don't see her anywhere that much like you used to.
Yeah, I read on Twitter that she's probably not going to be doing any media interviews, although that's subject to change. I mean, I think every fighter has to deal with the pressure of moving into a fight differently. You know, through the years, many fighters I've spoken with can deal with the media interviews and the hype. And even after Uriah's fight, Brian Stan asked him, you know, was there any pressure on you, being that the hype about it being your farewell fight? So, you know, maybe it's the way she's got to deal with it, because she's got she just wants to completely focus on it. And she was probably maybe burnt out. I think if it goes to the later rounds, I think Nunes has a chance. But if it looks like it always does in the first round, and Ronda whips out that armbar, I think we'll be saying goodbye to Amanda much more quickly. But it should be a really good fight. I'm excited for that fight.
I think Ronda thinks she can win, because Ronda wouldn't come back and take a fight unless she did. She was sort of waiting for the spot, right? Like, she didn't want to come back and fight Holly Holm right away again. I guarantee you that.
Right.
She was looking for that sort of ooh, it's Nunes. I think I can beat her. I don't want to underestimate Ronda, but it's really intriguing. All right, so last thing before we get you out of here, Nico Price makes his UFC debut. Here's a guy out of Florida knocking people out in like one round. He's 8-0. I think 7 of his fights actually have lasted like 50 seconds type of deal. But the level of competition, you know, he's fought a lot of 6-3 fighters, 5-5 type of fighters. He gets Brandon Thatch. It's a step up in class. But I'll tell you, the odds makers are obviously giving Price some respect here, because Thatch is only like a -225 favorite, which pretty low considering we got a guy that no one really knows much about in Price coming in here, who hasn't beaten any name fighters before. But you're down there in Florida, so you know a little bit about Price. What can you tell us?
Yeah, you know, I've seen Nico fight before at Fight Time Promotions, which is a great organization. They pull up a lot of fighters that end up in the UFC, by the way, and Bellator and WSOF. You know, it's the kind of thing, when I saw him fight and I see his punching power, I knew then that he would probably make it to the big leagues. He's a very aggressive fighter. He's very fast, and he's just all out there. He's got such strength in his hands. And, you know, even though he's fought in the smaller leagues, he is an American top team protege, and they usually train their people. He's up at Cape Coral. They usually train their guys for for big time. They're going for the gusto. He's a landscaper part-time, so he's still working his part-time job, just had a baby. I think it should be an interesting match. In addition, you know, his opponent is coming off 3 losses. So I think for him, it's a make or break fight for him. And while he has, you know, fought some bigger talent, he's, you know, coming into a 3-fight loss. I don't know how that plays with your head if I am him, because I think after 3, it's getting harder and harder to get out there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's amazing how much hype there was around. You're the guy until you're not the guy in this sport, and I've said that. It's like you're the quarterback till you're not the quarterback. And you're right. The it guy, and he was briefly the it guy. When I was looking at Thatch's record, I'm like, I don't know what the hell I was thinking betting him against Benson Henderson. But I've done a lot of dumb things over the years. Susan, it's always a pleasure. Thanks for taking the time to be with us.
Thanks,
I look
Gabe.
forward to catching up with you before the big Chael Sonnen, Tito Ortiz fight that should be an all-out circus leading up to that. Fireworks. It's going to be entertaining as hell, that's for sure. So I look forward to that. I wish you and yours a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and I'll speak to you in the new year, Susan.
Okay, God bless. Happy holidays, everybody.
There's Susan Cingari with us. MMA Meltdown on the Fight Network.